Both Evan's family and mine were in business, with modest assets. But ours wasn't a marriage of convenience, we were childhood sweethearts. From school uniforms to wedding gowns, we were the perfect match in everyone's eyes. Falling for Evan was no surprise. Our families had been close friends for generations, and our mothers were best friends. They say when I was still in the womb, the two mothers already wanted to arrange our marriage. They even picked out our names in advance. After birth, Evan and I were practically inseparable. From babbling infants to bright-eyed teenagers, we grew up side by side. My life revolved entirely around Evan. He was 2 months older than me and had always acted like a little adult, positioning himself as my older brother. When we started kindergarten, it was Evan who held my hand as we walked in. I was so scared in the unfamiliar environment that I kept crying. Evan patiently comforted me, giving me candy and singing to me. Later, in elementary school, when I did poorly on exams and felt upset, it was always Evan who would bring my favorite candies to cheer me up and help me correct my mistakes. During puberty, when I got my first period, my dress got stained. I sat at my desk feeling both ashamed and frustrated, not knowing what to do. It was Evan again, who ran to the supermarket to buy me sanitary pads. I don't know how he asked the shop assistant, but when he returned, he brought not only sanitary pads but also heating patches. As he handed me the items, I stared at his beet red face and couldn't resist teasing him. "Evan, your face is so red." "No, you saw wrong." Evan covered his face with one hand to hide from me while shoving something into my other hand with his free hand. Along with it came his school jacket. After I finished dealing with things in the bathroom and came out wearing his jacket, Evan was waiting for me outside. "Nora, does your stomach hurt?" Evan had just asked the shop assistant, who told him girls' stomachs might hurt during this time. He asked while carefully studying my expression. Seeing me nod, he panicked, "Then I'll carry you to the hospital." His exaggerated concern made me blush deeply. "No need, it doesn't hurt that much. I'll be fine after resting at home." So Evan carried me on his back, enduring curious glances all the way, and took me home. The sunlight was beautiful that day. I can still remember the warmth of the sun on my skin. And the boy's flushed earlobes. I leaned close to Evan's ear and whispered, "Thank you, Evan Gidge, big brother." The boy flushed red all the way to his neck. He tightened his grip and quickened his pace while carrying me on his back. I giggled uncontrollably against his shoulders. After starting middle school, I stopped chasing after Evan and calling him Gidge like before, addressing him directly by name instead. No matter how he coaxed me ordinarily, I'd never agree to call him that. Who knew one simple address would make him this flustered? How amusing. Little did I know, my own face was scarcely less pale than Evan's. That day, the flushed cheeks of those youthful boys and girls illuminated the colors of adolescence. Perhaps true youthful infatuation began from that very day. First love, how utterly beautiful. This tender, sweet affection sustained us throughout our youth, lasting all the way through high school. 18-year-old Evan gathered our entire class to deliver birthday wishes to me on my 18th birthday. He had dressed up carefully, wearing the brooch I gave him on his chest. His hair was impeccably styled. Always composed, he stood before me holding a bouquet of roses, yet he stammered as he spoke. "Nora, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" I nodded, tears welling in my eyes as I threw myself into his arms. Amidst the cheers of our classmates, we embraced and kissed. At that time, my love for him reached its peak. Later, he told me that although we had always been mutually affectionate. However, dating is different from childhood friendships. Romance requires a sense of ritual. A confession should start with a bouquet of flowers. So, on my birthday, a special day, he formally confessed to me, turning our relationship into that of a couple. Studying was tough and exhausting, but with Evan by my side, all I felt was sweetness. We worked hard together, solving practice problems side by side, watching our scores gradually improve with each exam. Later, we were admitted to the same university. Realistically, given both our family backgrounds, we should have chosen finance majors to eventually join our family businesses and take over the family enterprises. But personally, I preferred mathematics. After discussions between our families, I enrolled in the mathematics program while Evan entered the finance department. Back then he told me, "Nora, just do what you love. I'll work hard to grow and be your shelter from the storm." I believed him. My parents, who had watched this boy grow up, trusted him completely too. They had long planned to hand over the company to their son-in-law after they retired, letting him continue protecting their daughter. Knock knock knock. The sound of knocking came as Aunt Cindy, the housekeeper, entered. "Miss, everything is packed. The driver is waiting downstairs." "Okay, let's go." Aunt Cindy and Uncle Tom, the driver, have both watched me grow up since I was little. After I married Evan, they moved with me to our new home to take care of my daily life. A year ago, I told them to slowly pack up my belongings from this house. Aunt Cindy didn't understand why I was doing this. But she treats me like her own daughter. Following my wishes, she personally packed up all my things, never letting anyone else handle them. I never even revealed a hint of this matter to Evan. Up until today, all I have left in this house are a few cabinets of clothes. All of them were bought by Evan, and I don't want to take a single piece with me. Maybe that's why, over the past year, Evan never noticed that almost all of my belongings had disappeared. After we officially got together, my parents bought us a villa in the area closest to both of our companies to serve as our marital home. Now, I've lived here for 3 years. Everything in this place was personally chosen by Evan and me, but I've long forgotten how we felt when we purchased these items. Without hesitation, I walked outside. Uncle Tom had already loaded the boxes into the trunk. Several other cars were parked behind his. That was the cleaning company I hired. After my departure, they would enter the villa and clear out everything left behind. They're highly professional. Within just one day, they could erase all traces of my existence here completely. And tomorrow, this villa will be sold at a low price by the agency. The buyer has already been found. Once the cleaning is done, they can move in with just their personal belongings. On the road, my phone rang. It was Evan. "Nora, were you looking for me just now?" I didn't say anything. "Sorry, I was busy earlier and didn't see it." "Don't be mad, honey, I won't do it again." Evan's voice was still so clear, full of affection, always sweet and clingy when he spoke to me. Indeed, we've only been married for 3 years, and he's just 25 now. 25, young and accomplished. He was indeed the golden bachelor coveted by wealthy families, but unfortunately, his equally prominent childhood sweetheart had already taken the lead. At the same time, he was also the domineering CEO adored by young girls. "Nora, why aren't you saying anything? Did you see the text I sent you?" I countered. Evan on the other end must have checked his phone again, his voice puzzled. "There's no text, Nora. What did you send?" Sure enough, the messages had been deleted by his secretary. I chuckled lightly and changed the subject. "When are you coming back?" This time, Evan had gone on a business trip to a neighboring city for a major project, originally planned for a week. It had already been over 2 days past the schedule. "There's been a slight issue with the project, so I'll need a couple more days," Evan said with a pout, then cooed, "I miss you so much, Nora. I wish I could come home right now and give you a big hug." I didn't coax him as usual and smiled again. "When you come home, there's a surprise." "Okay, Nora is the best." After a few more perfunctory words, I hung up the phone. While I was on the phone with Evan, his secretary sent me several more photos. Evan leaned against the headboard, talking on the phone, wearing a loosely draped robe, his expression gentle. He spoke tender words, as if he were truly that affectionate. The photos also included 2 plane tickets to a scenic tourist destination. All this evidence shows Evan wasn't busy with work projects at all. He'd been fooling around with his secretary and even planned a romantic getaway together. I didn't respond to the secretary's message. She'd already served her purpose for me. That text had been intentionally sent from the very beginning. I knew she would delete it. Just like before, when she'd delete my call records to Evan after provoking me. She thought her chance to replace me had finally come. Moreover, by deleting the text, Evan would remain unaware that I'd already signed the agreement and filed for divorce. By the time the court ruled, our marriage would be legally dissolved. After our divorce, she can pretend to be oblivious and seize the opportunity to take my place. But she doesn't realize she's not the first one to provoke me. I can't even remember who the first one to message me was. Maybe it was Evan's female classmate during the second year of our marriage. Or perhaps it was the new intern girl at his company. There were too many to count. But back then, Evan only flirted with them, nothing substantial ever developed. This secretary is the most successful one. After half a year of flirting with Evan, she's finally gotten what she wanted and climbed into his bed. I looked at those photos deliberately sent to me and the expensive gifts intentionally flaunted, feeling nothing but amusement. Does she even realize that all these things could be legally reclaimed through litigation? Of course, I've already had my lawyer prepare the lawsuit. From the first one to his current secretary, every penny Evan spent on them, I intend to recover. They handed me the evidence themselves. I don't know why they're so brazen. Did they think provoking me with these things would make me angry? Make me break down? Make me raise hell? I'll simply preserve the evidence. Then make those young women, who knowingly pursued a married man and chose to be the other woman, pay the price for their actions. Of course, a man who can't control himself is the most despicable. Young girls are attracted to his money and want to become wealthy, but they've chosen the wrong path. As for Evan, failing to remain faithful and betraying his marriage makes him even more unforgivable. My parents were already waiting for me at home. Seeing several suitcases in the car, my mother was astonished. "Nora, what's going on? Why did you bring so much luggage?" "Mom, Evan and I are getting divorced." My parents froze on the spot, thinking I must be joking. "Nora, are you feeling unwell? Why would you ever want to divorce Evan?" My mother said while reaching out to feel my forehead. "Let's go inside and talk." Holding my mother's hand, I led her into the living room while my father dismissed the others. "Nora, what's going on?" my father asked with concern. He knew that although I'd been pampered since childhood, I was never capricious. I placed the printed materials before my parents. They flipped through them with growing confusion, their expressions darkening with each page. When they reached the most recent photos, my father slammed the documents onto the floor in fury, shouting, "That bastard actually dared to cheat. How dare he defy heaven's will? I'll make his family give my precious daughter the explanation she deserves." My mom was also very shocked, holding my hand. She couldn't hold back her tears. "Nora, Mom didn't know you've suffered so much. If I had known Evan would turn out like this, I wouldn't have let you two be together. Evan grew up under their watch, and they thought they knew him best. Who would have thought that the person who had cherished their daughter since childhood would start fooling around outside not long after marriage, and now even have such filthy matters brought right to their daughter's face? Why didn't you tell Mom earlier? Going through it alone, how much pain you must have endured." My mom was heartbroken. My father stood up, his eyes red with anger. "I'm calling that bastard right now, and his parents too. I want to ask them how they raised their son." "Dad, don't call yet." I tried to calm him down. My mother thought I was still clinging to Evan and grew both furious and anxious. "Silly child, after how he's treated you, are you still trying to protect him? Evan is currently in bed with his secretary, he won't answer. As for Evan's father, we'll tell him later," I said calmly, as if I weren't talking about my cheating husband. "Are you out of your mind with anger, Nora?" "Mom, I'm really fine. I want to wait until Evan comes back before telling his family about this. I have other things to deal with these next few days. Mom, Dad, trust me, I won't let myself be taken advantage of." After much persuasion, I finally managed to convince my parents. Evan had just gotten off the plane with his little secretary when he received a call for help from one of his former confidants. On the other end, the person sobbed and rambled for a long time. After hanging up the phone, Evan's face turned ashen. Only now did he realize something was off. During his entire business trip, Nora hadn't called him even once. No wonder Nora's voice sounded so indifferent during their last phone call. So she'd found out about all those gifts he'd given other women before. Nora had been doted on by both families since childhood. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? She loved him so much, and now she must be absolutely furious. Evan grew angry. These people had taken so much from him, yet couldn't even keep one little secret. Now they'd brought it to Nora's attention and still expect her help. What wishful thinking. Evan hurriedly called Nora, but couldn't get through. Seeing Evan's dark expression, his secretary coquettishly whined, "Evan, what's wrong? Didn't I make it clear we're done after returning?" "Watch your tone when speaking to me," Evan snapped coldly. The secretary lowered her head in grievance. Evan had no patience for playing the gallant now. He got in the car and told the driver to head straight home, completely ignoring the secretary chasing after them. And Nora had actually blocked him. Evan chuckled helplessly. This little girl had always been possessive of him since childhood. Who would have thought that even after all these years, she would still throw tantrums with him, making Evan feel like he was back in his youth. If he talked a few extra words with another woman, Nora would puff up her cheeks with displeasure. It would take him ages to coax her before she'd finally bestow a smile. "Sir, there's no gate access, we can't get in," the driver said awkwardly after stopping the car outside the villa. He had no idea what was wrong either. Usually the gates opened automatically, but today they seemed to be malfunctioning. "Nora's throwing a little tantrum, no big deal, I'll go down myself." Evan's smile deepened. This little girl was still playing the game of locking him out. Evan got out of the car and tried the fingerprint lock. Verification failed. He entered the passcode next, but it still didn't work. Helpless, he called out toward the house, "Nora, I'm back. At least hear me out first." Immediately, the sound of footsteps echoed from inside the villa. Just like when she was little, his Nora could never truly harden her heart against him. Every time she got angry, a little coaxing from him would send her pattering over to open the door. Evan's smile froze when he saw the person who opened the door. "Who is this? Why is there a strange man in his house? Is he a newly hired servant?" The man, wearing home clothes, leaned out the door and asked, "Who are you looking for?" "Who are you?" Evan demanded with a dark expression. The man was baffled by the question. "You're messing with my doorbell at my doorstep, shouting and yelling, and you're asking who I am? Your house?" Evan sneered. "This is my house. Where's Nora? Did she send you to play along with her act? Open the door, I don't want to talk to you." The man laughed in exasperation, pointing first at the gate, then at the villa behind him. "I don't know you, and I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm guessing you're looking for the previous owners." "I don't know where that family moved. I legally purchased this villa 3 days ago through proper procedures." "Impossible. This was mine and Nora's marital home. How could it have been sold to you?" Evan didn't believe it. The property management arrived upon hearing the noise, and they also knew Evan. They awkwardly explained that the new owner of the villa was indeed this man. But Evan still didn't believe it. In the end, the man gave the property management face and opened the door for Evan to go inside and see for himself. Inside the villa, not a single thing that belonged to him and Nora remained. Evan stared at the empty rooms. The paintings were gone, the curtains they had chosen, the carpets, everything had vanished. Seeing him like this, the man sneered, "I told you, the house was sold to me. How could Nora bear to sell their marital home?" It seemed he had truly broken her heart this time. Evan left in utter dejection. "Evan showed up just as I finished speaking with my lawyer. When my mother heard from the butler that Evan had arrived, she was so furious she wanted to personally chase him away." "Let him in, Mom." "Don't get worked up yet," I said. Evan entered and greeted my mother, who ignored him. He gave an awkward chuckle before kneeling before me. His voice remained tender and affectionate. "I'm late, making my Nora sad." I kept my head down without speaking. Evan continued to explain, Nora, there's nothing between me and them. Those gifts were company project rewards, arranged and distributed uniformly by the assistant. It's just that the assistant made a mistake and processed them through my personal account. I didn't tell you at the time because I was afraid you'd misunderstand. Evan had long prepared his excuse. After all, as a pampered young lady, how could I possibly understand the intricacies of company operations? And besides, I loved him so much. He's known me for over 20 years and understands me too well. As long as he admits his mistakes quickly enough, I can forgive him. That's how it's always been. But I just looked into his eyes and asked softly, was the seaside view beautiful? Evan's face instantly changed. You know, you still have your secretary's perfume on you right now. Evan hastily explained, this was accidental contact, Nora, don't misunderstand. You know, I've called you many times and sent you messages. But you never responded to me. As I spoke, tears immediately rolled down my face, making me look pitiful and sorrowful. I had practiced this expression in the mirror for a long time, and from this angle, it looked the most fragile and vulnerable. Nora, don't cry, I can explain everything, Evan panicked, hastily reaching out to wipe my tears, but I avoided his hand. I picked up my phone and showed him, one by one, the carefully preserved provocative messages his outside lovers had sent me over the years. Evan's face turned pale the moment he saw the first message. Right up to the texts from his little secretary, starting from their first flirtation 6 months ago to the indecent photos from just a few days ago. Evan's face was now ashen. These photos and messages made his earlier explanations seem so perfunctory and hypocritical. Nora, His hands trembled as he reached for me, but I dodged him once more. These are all fake, all fake. Evan made a last-ditch effort to deny it. I just silently wept. Let's get divorced. No. I won't divorce you, I'll never divorce you. Evan blurted out. He knelt before me, swearing, Nora, I was drunk that day, I truly didn't know, Nora, I didn't mean to hurt you, please don't divorce me. He was still making excuses, still lying. But I was satisfied, his excuses were exactly what I wanted. This way, I'd have more time to settle the assets. Nora, please don't divorce me, I beg you. I promise I'll never hurt you again. Evan pleaded for a long time before I finally relented slightly, saying with a broken heart, just go. I don't want to see you right now. I need some time alone. Evan refused to leave until my mother had someone physically remove him. The moment he was gone, I immediately dried my tears and waited for the lawyer to arrive. When I was chatting and laughing with the lawyer, my mother thought I'd lost my mind from grief. But she didn't know that I had been planning for this day for 3 years. Now that the fruit has finally ripened, how could I not be happy? When did I stop loving Evan? Even I can't remember anymore. Perhaps it was also on a sunny afternoon. In college, since our 2 majors were in different departments, Evan and I could only hastily meet each evening after classes. Later, as coursework grew heavier, we could only meet on weekends. We still called each other every day. Our years-long relationship wouldn't change because of distance. Each reunion felt as warm and familiar as ever, without the slightest sense of estrangement. At first, I saw someone confessing their feelings for Evan on the school's confession wall. But I trusted him and even teased him about it. Evan was good-looking, wealthy, and handsome, it was only natural that people liked him. I had enough confidence and security in our relationship not to feel jealous. However, during our limited meetings, I noticed another person's name kept coming up in his conversations. It made me a little uneasy, but I didn't think too much of it. That was until I saw a video posted by someone else on the confession wall. The poster had accidentally captured the moment, with the caption, "The 2 people I admire are really together. So sweet." Being curious, I clicked on it. In the video, a handsome young man and a cute girl lean their heads together, smiling as they chat about something. Whatever the girl says makes the boy laugh adoringly before he gently strokes her hair. Their eyes brim with tenderness. The bright sunlight bathes them both, casting a rosy-hued filter over the scene, a picture-perfect vision of youthful romance. I would have thought they made a perfect couple, if the boy weren't my boyfriend Evan. Trembling with anger, I clicked into the comments section. Only then did I realize, this girl was the one who had confessed her feelings to Evan before. He'd claimed he didn't even know her. But other comments revealed the girl's name, the same name Evan had been mentioning recently. The signs had been there all along. Stumbling out of bed, I rushed to confront Evan face to face. Just then, I ran into my roommate who had just returned. Seeing my frantic state, my roommate quickly asked, "Nora, where are you going?" "I need to find Evan." My roommate knew about the relationship between Evan and me. Hesitating for a moment, she grabbed my arm. "Nora, do you want to see what you look like right now?" My mind was in chaos, the anger and pain of suspected betrayal by my boyfriend making it impossible to think clearly. Hearing my roommate's words, I just shook my head, still wanting to run out. My roommate forcibly pulled me back into the dorm and pushed me in front of the full-length mirror. I looked up and met the reflection of a face twisted with rage. Disheveled hair, tears smeared across my face, a button on my pajamas undone, and barefoot, I was a complete mess. Who is this? I stared blankly at the woman in the mirror. The reflection wore the same bewildered expression as me, yet it appeared distorted and horrifying. How could this be me? I'd never been in such a wretched state. Seeing me calm down, my roommate pulled me to sit and poured me a glass of water. Clearly, she had also seen that confession wall post. That day, my roommate listened to me alternating between sobs and curses for hours. Finally, she said gently, "Nora, you should always be confident and radiant, growing toward the sun. You shouldn't be like this now." My roommate's family was extremely poor, struggling to even afford school, constantly working part-time jobs to pay tuition. Later, I had my family help by covering all her educational expenses and even arranged for her to tutor at a friend's house. Last year when her family had an emergency, it was also me who helped arrange hospital care that successfully treated her mother. She was deeply grateful and often called me her little sunshine. Hearing her say it again now, I instinctively turned to look in the mirror. The reflection staring back still looked ghostly pale. But my roommate was absolutely right. I'm Nora, the sole heir to my parents' fortune. My life shouldn't revolve solely around Evan. I plan to confront Evan when we meet this weekend. After all, we've been childhood sweethearts for so many years, and I truly love him. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. But since he's fallen for someone else now, though I'm furious, I'd rather part on good terms. What I never expected was for Evan to act as if nothing had happened. On the weekend, he brought my favorite cake, his tone and gestures as affectionate as ever. I couldn't understand what he meant by this. So I asked him directly. "Evan," I said, "are you cheating on me?" Evan flatly denied it. I took out the saved video. After watching it, he sighed helplessly and adoringly. "Nora, it's an angle issue, there were many of us discussing things over there. Look here, aren't there other people too? So my dear Nora was jealous, huh? Then I'll be extra careful from now on, and definitely won't give anyone a chance to spread rumors." Evan was as gentle as ever, his eyes filled with affection for me. The palm he placed on my head was still just as warm. But I felt as though I had fallen into an ice cellar. I've lived for 20 years and known Evan for 20 years. It's only today that I've come to realize that, in Evan's heart, I'm actually a fool. That kind of distance, those intimate little gestures, he thinks they're nothing. And his explanations are just as full of holes, completely careless. So half-hearted that if I ask a few more questions, he'll give himself away. Seeing that I stayed silent, he took my hand and shook it gently, coaxing me, "Nora, we're going to get married someday. You need to give me a little more trust." Yes, marriage, I'm supposed to marry Evan. So, just because we'll get married, does that mean he can flirt with others? After fooling around, he still has me waiting at home to marry him. At that moment, I felt the person I had loved for so many years had suddenly rotted away. I didn't sentence Evan to death over this one incident, but after observing closely, I discovered several others he was flirting with. There was no substantial progress between them, but the tone of their conversations and those intimate little gestures clearly showed their unusual relationship. It all declared to me that Evan was just such a scumbag. I was truly blind and foolish, taking 20 years to see this person for who he is. Reflecting on all these years with Evan, the more I thought about it, the more disgusted I felt. From that day on, I secretly enrolled in finance-related courses, studying until my mind went numb. Because I didn't know whether Evan truly loved me or had ulterior motives. My family's multi-generational wealth absolutely could not be destroyed by my hands. Fortunately, I still had my roommate. After learning about my plans, my roommate immediately changed majors and went to the finance department. After graduation, I arranged for my roommate to join Evan's family company. After all, as Evan's future wife, helping a classmate find a job matching their major was simply too easy. I even specifically asked Evan to look out for my roommate, so whenever my roommate acted in the company, they did so under Evan's name. No one would suspect me. Suspect me, the lovesick fool. All these years, they only saw how deeply I loved Evan. Occasionally, rumors reached my ears, but I remained steadfast in my trust for my beloved. I never once confronted Evan, content to stay at home as the wealthy wife. Everyone said I was the ultimate lovesick fool. A top graduate from a prestigious university, yet I rushed into marriage right after graduation, happily settling into the role of a stay-at-home wife. As the sole heir to my family's vast company, I showed no interest in it, leaving all projects for my husband to manage. After Evan inherits both companies in the future, they'll merge into one. Such rumors have circulated in high society ever since Evan and I got married. Everyone tacitly assumed the two companies would eventually merge. Thus, far-sighted CEOs all sought partnerships with Evan, hoping to seize the initiative and share the benefits once he combined the two companies. Their idea wasn't entirely wrong, the two companies were indeed about to become one. But not Evan's company. It would be mine, Nora's. After the lawyers examined the evidence and agreements, Evan's assets and his shares in the company would all be transferred to my name. And after the marriage, every time his close female friend provoked me, I would pick a company project and hint to Evan that my family's company wanted to participate too. A man who is just cheated is at his most guilty and remorseful. Just like that, most of Evan's profitable projects ended up in my hands. Evan never doubted and, fearing I might overthink, transferred the project without hesitation. After all, the two families were so close that boundaries blurred. In whose hands it landed, did it really matter? I acted for 5 years. Acted so well that all our friends believed I was deeply in love with Evan. So much so that when our families discussed marriage, the idea of a prenuptial agreement never even crossed their minds. So much so that Evan never guarded himself against me, neither before nor after marriage. To demonstrate his sincerity, he even went as far as signing a prenuptial agreement in front of both families. The agreement stated that if we were to divorce for any reason, he would leave with nothing. Additionally, he included a supplementary clause stating that if the divorce resulted from his wrongdoing, all his company shares would be transferred to me without compensation. Back then, 22-year-old Evan held my hand, his eyes overflowing with affection. Nora, I swear I'll never betray you. This prenuptial agreement will never come into effect. This is my promise to you. You'll always have a way out. How did I play my part back then? Oh, I remember I cried. I was so moved that I clung to him, refusing to let him sign such a document. But he insisted and, witnessed by both families, personally signed the agreement. At the time, both families even went out of their way to have the agreement notarized. After obtaining the notarized document, I threw a little tantrum, insisting on locking this unlucky agreement away in a dark corner. The adults from both families teased me for acting like a child despite my age. For so many years, no one ever mentioned the agreement again. Even Evan forgot that I still held on to this document. Little did he know, after receiving the agreement, I immediately encrypted it layer by layer and securely stored this precious item in my private safe. This is the grave Evan dug for himself. Of course, I must tread with extreme caution. When the lawyer returned, he carried a thick stack of documents. As I meticulously reviewed each clause, noticing that Evan's company's latest project had also been transferred to me, I couldn't help but laugh. "Lila, you even managed to get this into my hands." The woman beside me chuckled, "Every little bit counts." Since Evan worked so hard traveling for a week to secure this project, how could we possibly reject his kindness? Lila is my roommate. Over the years, she's been working at Evan's company, collaborating with me from the inside out. Our relationship is as close as could be. She's grateful for the help I gave her in the past. Actually, she's the one who saved me. If she hadn't pulled me back in time that day and made me see clearly, I might have spent my whole life living in a dream. In the end, I probably would have wound up with a cheating husband, watching the family business my parents left me fall into someone else's hands. While young, I could still be Mrs. Evan. But once my looks faded and youth passed, I'd just be thrown out like trash. My whole life would have become nothing but a joke. I reviewed the documents and signed my name on them. Lila was now an executive at Evan's company, holding a small percentage of shares. Over the past few years, she had gradually acquired various scattered shares, and now she transferred all those shares to my name. At this point, my stake in the company had surpassed that of Evan's father. I waited patiently for a few more days until the court's judgment arrived. Due to the prenuptial agreement and Evan being the at-fault party, the court granted the divorce outright. As soon as I received the judgment, I immediately called a shareholders' meeting at Evan's company. Meanwhile, Evan was still standing at my doorstep with flowers, vowing to win me back and begging for my forgiveness. Evan's father looked at me with an unfamiliar gaze as I spoke confidently at the shareholders' meeting. It was as if he had never known me before. Seeing all the projects I presented in my hands, the shareholders exchanged glances. They only cared about receiving dividends, so naturally they would support whoever could make them money. After I finished presenting everything, I smiled and looked at the others. "So now, does anyone still have objections to the selection of the new chairman?" Except for Evan's father, all the shareholders sided with me. After all, every collaborative project Evan's company had now bore my mark. If I decided to turn against them, Evan's company would quickly be rendered powerless. "Nora, we're still family after all." Evan's father seemed to have aged 10 years, his voice hoarse as he spoke. "I'm sorry, Uncle, but I divorced Evan this morning. Now my relationship with you is purely professional." Only then did he remember the agreement they'd signed back then. "But, Nora, Evan hasn't done anything wrong. The court won't grant a divorce." I smiled at him and tossed over a folder. If sending me bed photos of Evan with his secretary doesn't count as wrongdoing, then I have nothing more to say. Evan's father immediately fell silent. He stared at the documents, hands trembling with rage. Evan was summoned to the company by his father, where he was scolded mercilessly. He was utterly confused, until he saw that court verdict. Only then did Evan finally break down. "This can't be. How could the court rule like this? I never received any notice. It's fake. I'm going to sue." But the verdict was crystal clear. He had acknowledged the divorce agreement and fault lawsuit proceedings, raising no objections. Therefore, he had absolutely no grounds for appeal. "I never saw any notification," he said, stumbling over to seek confirmation from me. "Nora, you never sent me the agreement, right? You're lying to me, aren't you?" "I did send it." I smiled, signaling my assistant to block him, my expression gentle and kind. "That night when you were in bed with the secretary, I sent the agreement. The evidence clearly states that you were informed and had no objections." The color drained from Evan's face in an instant. He remembered, I had asked him if he received it while he was on the phone. But he truly hadn't seen it. No, while he was showering, the secretary had gone through his phone. It was that woman who did it. Evan collapsed to the floor, filled with hatred for the secretary. Evan's father gave him a frustrated kick, urging him to apologize to me. I had no patience to watch their fake melodramatic act. I said bluntly, "Uncle, you should know by now that the mere sight of Evan disgusts me. He'd better resign from the company voluntarily. If he leaves the company and stays out of my sight, I guarantee your dividends won't be short by a single cent otherwise." I tapped the resignation letter on the table and said coldly, "Your company won't need to exist anymore. And one more thing, right now, Evan is coming with me to finalize the divorce." Evan came to his senses and tried to apologize and cling to me again, only to be struck across the face by his father. "What more do you want to stir up? Must you drive our family to ruin before you're satisfied?" Evan's father personally escorted him to finalize the divorce procedures with me. Holding the divorce certificate, Evan still couldn't believe it, muttering to himself, "How could this be? Nora liked me so much, she loved me so deeply, how could she actually divorce me?" I ignored them and went straight home. Not long after, the lawsuit to recover joint marital property was won, and I received the full compensation amount. I finally came clean with my parents about everything I had done over the years. My mother's heart ached with both pity and regret, and she couldn't stop wiping away her tears. My father, after all these years in the business world, sighed with emotion before quickly getting to work on having me inherit the company. I was busy taking over the family business, busy transferring shares, busy with social engagements. Lila is now the company's second largest shareholder, and together we're running ourselves ragged. Though it's exhausting, the feeling of having both money and influence in hand is truly satisfying. At banquets, no one would ever refer to me again as just a clueless rich wife. No one will ever refer to me as that love-struck girl anymore. I am no longer anyone's appendage, nor will I lose myself for anyone. When I heard the news of Evan's imprisonment, I had just signed a major collaboration project. At first, I thought it was just a rumor. It wasn't until the official announcement came out that I learned Evan discovered his secretary had deleted his information, which led to him being forced into a divorce. He believed the secretary was entirely to blame for the collapse of his marriage and his family's eviction from the company. In a fit of rage, he accidentally pushed the secretary off the building. She died on the spot. I just sighed a few words and was quickly distracted by the new project Lila brought over. The past has nothing to do with me anymore. Just as she said many years ago, I, Nora, am born to face the sun.